screw perfection. That is the vibe and the theme for today's episode of The Diary of the Music Maker. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rich. I'm a full-time composer. I write music for movie trailers and libraries and my own projects, of course. And it's a huge amount of fun. And this podcast is me sharing my thoughts, my process, literally being the diary of my creative and professional life, I guess. I used to run a podcast called the Trailer Music Composers Podcast, and it started off as like tips and tricks to be a trailer composer. Then I started doing interviews, which were awesome and fun. And then I started just sort of going for a walk with my phone and just talking about a subject. And I loved those episodes. I love just talking about these themes that as composers, we don't really talk about because we're all isolated in our own studios. And this isn't just composers. This is music makers. We're all isolated in our studios, which actually I think a lot of us like and also don't like. We like the fact that we have the time and space to be ourselves and have creative freedom. We do not like the fact that we're on our own and don't have banter. So this is my form of banter with you. Although I don't hear you laughing, I'm just assuming you're quietly chuckling away going, ha, so true. Anyway, back to the focus of today, which is screw perfection. Now, I'm approaching this not from a professional, polished viewpoint. I'm approaching this from how perfection makes us as music makers feel. Now let's look at this. This actually is the reason why I do what I do, why I share so much of my process, because I want to help composers and music makers with this adjustment. Now here's the adjustment. It's getting darker. The sun's going in a little bit. There we go. Here's the adjustment. As a music maker, we hear incredibly polished and produced pieces of music. And I don't know about you, even though I've been doing this professionally for over a decade, I still hear some of this music and go, blimey, how the hell did they do that? And then it makes me feel bad. You know, sadly, I'm not often one of these people who's sort of aspirationally looking at a piece of music being like, yeah, I can learn to do that. I hear a really well polished, air quotes, perfect take, perfect mix, perfect master. I hear that and go, well, this seems completely unattainable. It's kind of like someone giving me a pair of sandals and saying, right, you're ready to climb Everest. That's what perfection feels like to me. You know, I when I was in a band, it was always like, let's get the perfect take. Let's get the perfect performance. Let's get everything perfect. And I think there is a time and a place for that. But I also think for us music makers professionally, we get lost in perfection. We get lost in this ideal of perfect timing, perfect tuning, perfect structure, perfect build, perfect mix. And because we've got so much to think about, it becomes something completely different, and we become overwhelmed and stressed by this idea of perfection. You know, if you kind of rewind back to when it was just you with an instrument writing songs or writing music, yes, there were so few opportunities comparatively. However, it became about the writing. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is this is not necessarily screw perfection. This is screw the finished product. Air quotes, the perfect finished product. Because the demo is where it's at. That feeling of rawness, that capturing someone's emotion through music. That's why we're all here. We're all here to create feeling, create the intangible and make it tangible. And yes, it is a good thing to get the best take you can. Yes, it's a good thing to get a good mix. Yes, it's a good thing to do these things. But the problem is when that becomes the end goal, this like beautifully cellophane wrapped finished piece of music, it loses something. So I've made a kind of a deal with myself that I'm going to say, screw perfection, screw this finished product, and approach everything like a demo. what that means for me is, what would you do with a demo? You would just get the idea out and get it as close to as possible, and then see what happens. See if there's any interest. Because you can always do a more finished product later on. And I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of music makers get stuck. They get stuck in this rut of getting their ideas almost finished and then never doing anything with them, because this idea of this beautifully finished product is intimidating. And I'm saying this because I've been doing this professionally for over 10 years, and it still intimidates me. So this is one of the reasons why I often have opened up Logic and pressed record and said, look, this is how I write my music. Because I want people to realise that my channels are clipping, my timing's off. It's not as intimidating as people make out to be. And I know there are a few people who like to kind of keep this air of mystery around the production of music because it keeps their domain safe. But for me, it's a case of opening the doors and saying, guys, it's not as scary. It's about us communicating the stuff that we can't communicate in any other ways. And that's what it comes down to. Whether you're communicating a vibe for a film, whether you're communicating a feeling for a song, whether you're communicating an idea, that's what we're here for. And if a demo is the best and quickest way to get that idea out and share it with the world, why wouldn't you do that? Because it's scary? Yes, it's scary because you feel like you're going to be judged for sharing something that's not well mixed. I mean, I had a comment on YouTube where I shared someone who's like, dude's like 50 and he's sharing middle school beats. Yeah, because middle school beats are awesome. That's why. And yeah, there will be a certain amount of judgment, but there'll be judgment if you finish a product. You think about all the times when a famous artist, a very well-known artist, has produced a record and a huge amount of money and time has gone into this record, and people just listen to it and go, no, rubbish. So you'll still get slated, well, you possibly, it's still on the cards if you produce a perfect product, air quotes perfect. So just get these ideas out and share them. We want to hear the ideas that we all make. We want to hear it. So you want to say, screw the finished product, screw perfection. I'm here to make my emotions, my ideas, my feelings, my memories, to make them tangible, to make them something that other people can appreciate. So get recording and get it good enough and share it.